I forgot to put the chat. Let me see if I could still do it. But what's up, Andrew, Base Truther, Beyond Belief, Owen Nut. What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well. So, what's up, Earthship Bear? Good to see you all. So yeah, we're back out here. I actually came out like on June 20th, like almost 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. And I guess there was literally no classes. I guess there was like a 2-week break. I guess this is like a summer break. I didn't even know that universities had like summer break like this, but yeah, it was like a 2-week summer break. So it was a complete ghost town. So I just decided to leave. It was kind of pointless to set up. So yeah, I'm back out. I mean, there are some students now, but you know, unfortunately, it is summer session, I guess you could say. Summer classes going on right now. I think they started July 1st, so yesterday. But yeah, it's like way less than the usual amount of students here for sure. It's like it's kind of empty if you ask me, like, you know. So hopefully it doesn't stay like this throughout the whole summer. Supposedly July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are mainly for like orientation. So I'm gonna assume maybe a lot of students skip orientation, right? And then just start when classes actually start, which will be on the 4th, I would assume. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't stay this empty throughout the summer, because it would suck. Yeah, because I guess there is like a summer break for universities. You know, they don't go back to like September, early September, or some other ones late August. So yeah, July and August mainly are gonna be it's gonna be during the summer break. So yeah, I'm hoping I can still get a few conversations in, you know, with a few students that are here, but we'll see how that goes, right? So how's it going? Holding the line on the fringe of the fringe. Oh yeah, how everything grows, it's due to the force of the earth, right? You know how plants grow, you know, they have orientation. When plants grow, trees grow, how do they know, right? How do they know? Obviously there's sunlight too, but what gives the earth orientation and everything else within it that's attached to the earth, you know, it's the upwards push, the force of the earth that gives everything orientation. So yeah, I mean, obviously a globe earther would say, oh, it's the pulling force of the earth, it pulls everything down, right? But it doesn't pull plants down when they grow, right? So the basically in their mind is the sun, right, overpowers the force, the pulling force, and the plant's still able to go against the force because you put some sunlight above it, right? So the plant's able to overcome the force, the pulling force of the earth, that same force that's holding in all the oceans, right? The trillions and trillions and trillions of gallons of water, you know, that force, right, that's pulling all that water, you know, to the earth, right? And everything else within it, right? But if you put some sunlight on some plants, the plants are able to overcome that force and grow against the pulling force of gravity, right? So yeah, that's what they want us to believe, you know. Obviously that's ridiculous. Think of how much force a plant exerts when they're growing, right? That overcomes the pulling force of gravity, the force of the earth, of the, you know. So again, just explanations, right, from the globe earth to basically back up their model. And people are comfortable with that nowadays. People are okay with an explanation. As long as you could give them an explanation for something, you know, that fits their bias especially, then that's good enough for most people. You know, you could show them proof, you know, undeniable facts, you know, practical physics. You could show people practical physics that goes against, you know, that core belief or their bias, right? And they'll deny it. They'll deny the practical references and accept an explanation instead. Why? Because most people do have a bias, you know, and it's not entirely, you know, people's faults, you know, especially when I believe it too. It's not entirely our fault, you know. I get it, because when we're a child, we're impressionable, we're gullible, you know, we can be easily swayed. So it makes sense, you know, how the system has everybody, as soon as they're very young, you know, going into indoctrination camp and start drilling these ideas into your head. So then when you grow up, they kind of become a part of you. So you're kind of forced to have a bias. You know, it's kind of like it you know, happens when we're very young. So most people don't even know that they have a bias because they actually believe it's true. So that's when we get into brainwashing, you know. Because having a bias, for example, without being brainwashed, I mean, it's kind of hard not to have a bias without being brainwashed. But for example, religions, right? Religions, most people that follow a particular religion, they have a bias towards that religion, right? But they were not forced. I mean, maybe some families, you know, maybe if you grew up in a religious family, then unfortunately it was forced on you as well. No different than school. But a lot of people go into religion once they're an adult, you know, stuff like that. You know, they'll find a religion that sounds right to them, that sounds fluffy, you know, and makes them feel good, so they buy into that. But that's them choosing to have that bias now to defend that religion, you know, especially when you start to question it, right? When it comes to the globe earth, you know, we didn't really choose that religion, right, or that belief in the globe earth or the heliocentric model. You know, as adults, you know, most of us were indoctrinated as children and force-fed this information to the point where we accept it as fact, right? Even though there is no physical proof, you know, we just accept the explanations because we trust authority. So that's another thing, you know, why they get us so young into believing this absurdity about the earth, is because you put trust in authority. And then when you do that as a child, most people don't grow out of that. You know, they follow that line of thinking, right, or of not thinking in this sense of just trusting someone else that they think is smarter than them because they went to college for 8+ years, right, and they studied this, so they're the experts. So who am I to question their claims, right? So again, it's all about, you know, gaining people's trust, you know, when we're very young, so that not only do we accept the globe earth lie and heliocentrism, but it's so that we can accept everything that this system has to offer, from how we should be living, you know, paying taxes, for example, using a fraudulent economy, for example, you know, stuff like that which encompasses everyone's life at that point. So a lot of people might think that, oh, the globe earth versus flat earth, or even just the shape of the earth topic is so insignificant that it shouldn't even be talked about. But this is coming from people that wholeheartedly believe in the globe earth, for example, right? Because in their mind, oh, it's insignificant because there's obviously a globe. So again, they don't see how deep this goes. They don't see how indoctrinated they've been to the point where you make these kinds of claims. You know, in my opinion, anybody making claims like that just shows how brainwashed you are. You know, because, and again, I get it. You didn't choose this religion in a way. It kind of chose you in a way. It was forced on us. You know, so I get it. You know, most people or ignorantly have a bias, I guess you could say. Because a lot of religious people, again, whatever religion they follow, they at least admit is based on faith, right? Most people that follow a particular religion at least admit that it's faith-based, right? It cannot be practically proven. So at least give them some credit there, right? With the globe earth, on the other hand, people believe is actually factual. That's the big difference between, they're both religions at the end of the day. The globe earth is a religion just like any other religion. The only difference is that the globe earth preaches that what they're saying is true. So it kind of goes into like very culty mentalities, it's a very culty way of thinking, of thinking that you know everything, thinking that you know the facts, when in actuality, in reality, it's actually a lie and it's not true. So yeah, that's the position we find ourselves in. Most of us, didn't choose to believe that. It was forced on us as children, and again, people have a bias without even knowing they have a bias because they think it's true, and yeah, it just shows how brainwashed they have us, or the majority of us. For those of us that have seen through the lies, that have broken through some of the brainwashing, right? We can clearly see that it's so obvious that it's laughable. It's literally that obvious that it's laughable. But people find comfort in numbers. That's another thing. So as long as the majority believe the globe earth, then it's okay, because I'm not the only one. I'm not going to be singled out as being dumb. And it's like, and people find comfort in numbers even though they could be wrong, right? Or as long as I'm not the only one, right? It makes people feel a little bit better, right? So it's crazy how like human psychology has a lot to do with this as well. Human behavior, playing on people's emotions, it goes very deep. It's not just telling a lie and that's it. It's very strategic, the lie, how it was implemented, how it was pushed. Once you realize this, how strategic it was to push this, and then you see that, holy shit, this wasn't an accident. We didn't come to this by accident, right? Like, oh, somebody made a mistake, in the past, and we just follow that mistake and we build off of it, and this is where we're at. No, it was a deliberate lie to push, that the earth is a globe. That was 100% deliberate. How do we know that? Well, because once you realize the facts that debunk a globe earth and how a globe earth could be physically impossible, and I'll get into that for anybody who's new, how do we debunk the globe physically, right? But once you realize that, then you see how easy it is to understand how the globe earth is impossible. Then you realize, like, holy shit, there's no way this was a mistake. A child can understand these principles that debunk the globe earth. Therefore, there's no way we ended up here by accident. It's just impossible. It just doesn't make any sense that we ended up where we're at now by accident. Like, if you actually believe that, then you're still kind of, I would assume you're probably new to this subject, because I get it. In the beginning, when you first, come across this subject and you look into it, it's like something inside of you doesn't want to accept that there's people here that are trying to deceive us, at a mass scale and take advantage of us like this, right? So you kind of have this, hope that maybe, it was a mistake and maybe we can just correct it and everybody can be on the same page, right? When it comes to this. But the reality is, again, it was a deliberate attempt. It's been deliberate from the start. And yeah, it's a war for our attention that's going on right now. So yeah, where you put your attention matters, at the end of the day. And yeah, you're gonna get swayed. You're gonna get manipulated if you just believe things without understanding them for yourself. It's just a given. So yeah, my best advice is don't believe anything. Verify things for yourself. If something is true, if something is a fact, then it doesn't have to be a belief. You don't have to believe it. You should understand it. Understanding claims about this reality is where we need to be. If the claims about this reality cannot be understood, or even worse, defy physics and cannot be practically demonstrated, then don't believe it. Don't believe it. Don't believe those claims. It's literally that simple. And trust me, you'll be in a much better place. You don't want to just be easily influenced. You don't want to be gullible, because then that opens the door to being brainwashed. And trust me, you do not want to be brainwashed. It does suck realizing the position that we find ourselves in. But trust me, being ignorant to that, it's even worse. So yeah, that's just, my best advice to anyone is just don't believe anything. Any physical claims about this place, again, any claims about creation, for example, that's a physical claim. You're literally claiming how this place came to be physically, like how matter came to be, how it is, how it was engineered the way it is, and all of that. All of that is all, anybody making claims about all of that, how it came to be and all that, it's bullshit from the start. Because you can't prove it. You can't physically prove it. So that's where all religions have that in common, is that they all have their own little creation story and their own ideas about what this place is, physically. Again, those are physical claims. Which again, in my opinion, are bullshit. Nobody knows. That's the fact. Nobody knows. So just because we don't know how this place came to be and how it was created and that doesn't mean that there isn't some kind of cause to this place. Of course there's something that caused this place. Things just don't happen for no reason. That's another thing. You can't have something from nothing. So we're experiencing something here. This something, that we call life, reality, didn't come from nothing. That's a fact. Even science will back up that claim as well, that you can't have nothing, something from nothing. So that simple fact shows that this is some kind of creation. There is some kind of purpose to this existence, to living. What that purpose is, whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But we definitely came from something else. So yeah, again, just because we don't know what that is, that doesn't mean that it just came from randomness and from nothing, and now we're here. Like, no, there is some kind of, and I hate using this word, but there is some kind of creator to this place, or creators. I don't know. So again, in my opinion, following any religion is not a good thing for your psyche, right? For your mental health, in my opinion. You're putting yourself in a box at that point. You're closing off your mind when you follow a particular religion. Because again, if you're honest enough with yourself, you would realize that we don't know. We just don't know how this place came to be and what this reality is about. If you're truly being honest with yourself, that's where we're at, So yeah, for most people, religion is just like a comfort blanket. Again, it's just so that they can feel good about themselves or about their particular situation, at the end of the day. But yeah, again, that just shows weakness, in my opinion. Mental weakness, And as human beings, I think we should be the opposite of that. We should be the opposite of being mentally weak. We should be strong mentally. Because everything starts in the mind, right? Your actions, everything. So being mentally strong, in my opinion, is one of the most important things we should be striving for. What does that actually mean, though, right? Well, in my opinion, it has to do with your emotions, having your emotions in check, trusting your common sense, having an understanding about physicality, for example. So anybody making physical claims about this place, again, you're not going to be easily swayed. So again, putting your emotions in check, trusting your own common sense, your discernment, your understanding, all of these things is what makes somebody mentally strong, in my opinion. And what we're experiencing nowadays is people don't have those traits. They rather trust authority. They don't trust their own common sense. They don't have their emotions in check. They're easily influenced emotionally, mentally, psychologically. So again, I think it has to do a lot with the education system that makes people that way in a way. It just pushes people towards that kind of mentality. Like just trusting authority and don't trust your common sense. This is the answer and don't question it, right? So yeah, again, breaking through that is going to be one of the hardest things for people to do, but once you do, trust me, you won't regret it. And again, it is going to suck, to look around and to see the situation we find ourselves in. But again, trust me, you'd rather be there than still brainwashed. That's literally just being an NPC at that point. Do you want to be you, or do you want to be an NPC? That's what it comes down to. And being you comes with, again, not trusting anyone but your own intuition, your own common sense, your own understanding, and having your emotions in check. That's what it means to be you, in my opinion. Is don't fall into religious stories. Don't be swayed by religious stories and bullshit claims about your existence and about your reality. Because then that's gonna warp your perception about who you really are. What why we're here. Hey, what's up, man? So yeah, at the end of the day, be yourself. Break from the cult mentality that this system pushes, and just don't be gullible. That's what more can I say, right? So I'll read some of the comments to see if anybody has anything to share. I'll say hi to anybody new that joined. Let's see, Blown Spokeman, what's up? Terry Hayes, Lord Racer, Rom. Who else is here? Hello. Hi. You guys want to give this a shot? It's 2 very easy multiple choice questions.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's see if you guys can get them. Very easy.
If we do bad and we look stupid, don't post this.
Well, this one's already live, but it's facing me, so you'll be okay. But trust me, it's very easy. So here I have 3 box trucks, and there's a bowling ball hanging with a string. Mm-hmm. So a bowling ball. So one truck is accelerating forward, one is at rest, and one is accelerating in reverse.
Right.
So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
This one.
Yes, you guys got it. Why is that one at rest, would you say?
The bowling ball is not moving.
Exactly. Okay, pretty easy, right? So which one's accelerating forward?
This one.
Yes. How do you know that one's accelerating forward?
Because the bowling ball is moving backward with, like, inertia.
Inertia, exactly, inertia. But the bowling ball is actually not moving backwards because...
Right, it's staying in the spot.
Yes.
The truck is moving
Yeah,
forward.
So it's being left behind,
Yeah.
in other words. Well, yeah, but due to inertia, exactly. In reverse. You got it. See, pretty easy, right? So this next one is pretty similar, but it's a helium balloon now instead. So with a string. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Wouldn't it be B?
Yeah, it actually is. And it's for the same reason as the first one, because it's not moving in any direction, right? So which one is accelerating forward now?
I want to say A.
Okay, which one's, what will be your final answer, I guess, will it be A?
Trying to think about the time I had a balloon in the car and which way it moved.
Pretty much, that's what it comes down to.
Okay, I feel like it might be C.
Yeah,
Because helium is less dense than air.
that's true.
Okay, that's actually really good. You're probably one of the first ones since I've been doing this to actually get it right and actually give the explanation to why. Yeah, so it is true because helium is less dense than air. When you accelerate the container in this direction, the air is also moving through space in that same direction, and because helium is less dense than the air is able to push it in that same direction. So that's what we will call buoyancy.
Right.
It's a chain reaction of a force, or in this case, you know, the acceleration of the truck. And I can demonstrate it here too. I have a ball that's less dense than the water. If I accelerate in this direction, what direction do you think the ball is going to go? Being less dense than the medium.
That direction.
Exactly. See, it's pushed in the same direction as the force, because again, that's what buoyancy is. So since we understand these simple, I guess, demonstrations, right? I actually did this experiment myself, with an apple hanging with a string and a helium balloon also with a string, right? Since we understand, yeah, exactly, it's pretty crazy. Huh? So since we understand helium always follows the direction of the force, what direction would you say I accelerated this van, to the right or to the left?
To the right.
Yes, exactly. Because obviously, if I told you it was accelerating to the left, obviously I'll be lying.
Right.
Because that defies physics.
Yeah.
You know, exactly. Helium will always get pushed in the same direction the air is moving. Exactly. So here, I even did it with a similar one to this one, with a steel ball and a ping pong ball. Again, what direction did I accelerate this container?
In that direction.
Yes, exactly, because that's the direction of buoyancy. The steel ball didn't swing back. It was just being left behind. Again, because the water's not dense enough to push it like the ping pong ball, the steel ball just gets left behind. So that's what we experience here. So one last one, real quick. Again, I had a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball. I had it at rest, but I only accelerated one of these two down. Which one did I physically accelerate down? The one on the left or the one on the right?
The one on the right.
Exactly, because we see the reaction to that acceleration. Again, the ping pong ball gets pushed down along with all the air, and the steel ball gets left behind.
Right.
So that's how we get that multi-directional motion, right? So the one on the left, it was actually free fall. So let me ask you guys this. If I was holding this bottle right now and I just simply released it, it didn't accelerate, just released it down. Do you guys believe gravity accelerated down toward the earth from being at rest? Like if I release it into free fall, do you believe it got pulled down towards the earth?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So again, they claim that gravity accelerates matter at 9.8 meters per second, right?
Yeah.
But the one on the left is actually free fall, and we see no reaction of matter whatsoever. So matter doesn't react to that acceleration in free fall. And I don't know if you guys knew, gravity is just theory. Right. So what that means, it has never been physically proven or measured. Because again, we can clearly prove to ourselves that there is no reaction of matter in free fall because there is no force in free fall. So objects don't accelerate down when you release them into free fall. You guys want to know what happens in reality? So what happens is, since we understand buoyancy follows the direction of the force, right? If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does the helium go? Why do you think it goes up?
Because force goes up? Or
The force is up, but what's pushing the helium up, I guess, will be my question.
Atmospheric pressure.
Yes, the air pressure, the atmosphere, the air, because the air is more dense.
Right.
But we understand that in order for the air to be able to push the helium in any direction, the air also has to be moving in that same direction. So if the air is moving up to be able to push the helium up, what's pushing up the air? Or what's moving up the air, I guess?
Normal force.
The normal force, yes, exactly. The normal force is the upwards push of the earth.
Right.
So that can be physically measured and tested and proven that it's there. Because buoyancy is a force, but again, it's a chain reaction of a force, because a helium balloon doesn't push itself. It requires the air. But the air can't push itself either. So what's pushing up the air? It's the earth literally pushing up right now. So you're not being pulled down towards the earth. That pulling force doesn't exist. It's literally the earth pushing up against you. And that's why we're stuck on earth, because it's the earth constantly pushing up against us. So when I release this object into free fall, it's not the object that moves down towards the earth, it's the earth that comes up to the object. So because right now everyone's connected, we can feel the pressure under our feet. We're literally being pushed up right now. You could kind of think of it like a giant elevator, the earth is. So when I release this in space, it's being left behind. Because the air, again, is not dense enough to push it up, just like a helium balloon. Right. So it's the earth that just comes into contact with it again. So let me ask you guys this. You guys believe the earth is a ball, right?
Yes.
If we could prove that the earth is literally pushing up right now and it's not pulling us down, right? How can the earth be moving up in every direction on a ball because obviously up is relative on a ball, right? If you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing here, up is this way, in every direction away from the center. But if we could prove that the ground is literally pushing up, how will that work from a ball earth? How can the earth be pushing up in every direction at the same time?
Because it's coming
But if we're up here and it's pushing up this way, how can it push down at the same time and then this way?
Because it pushes in all directions.
So it's pushing up in all directions.
Yeah.
So how would that work though? Because
it's coming from the center, not from the surface.
but the ground, the surface is literally pushing up. It's literally moving up through
Because
space.
the surface is the closest that we can touch to the core of the
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
So
this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but if the Earth was literally pushing up in every direction on a ball, that would mean the Earth will have to be expanding. It will have to be growing to be able to push up in every direction away from the center. So it will have to be growing into infinity to be able to push up. Would you agree or disagree?
I'm not sure that I would agree with that.
Well, okay, if
But
the ground,
I guess
if the
we
ground
don't
was,
really know if it is.
but that's the thing, buoyancy shows us that. But let's say if the ground was literally moving up, right? How else would it work?
It's not literally moving up. It's
But that's
pushing.
How can something push something without moving?
I can push my hand on this,
But
and
that's
neither of us are moving.
Yeah, because you're exerting the resistance of this table is greater than the force you're applying. That's why.
Right.
Yeah, but you're still moving towards the table to be able to apply pressure. There's a motion right now of you pressing down on the table.
Yes.
You can't have pressure without motion. That's what a force is.
Right.
Yeah, force is F equals ma. It's mass and undergoing acceleration or
Right.
motion. So that's what a force is. So you can't have a force without motion. So the Earth does exert a force, but it's not a pulling force, it's a pushing force. So the fact is,
But you said that there's also atmospheric pressure. Why isn't that pushing down? It is. Keeps us on the Earth.
no, well,
They balance each other out for us to not be floating.
yeah, so again, the atmospheric pressure, again, if something is falling through the air, right, or appearing to fall, the air is simply just not dense, because the air is moving up through space. That's how it has pressure. That's the reason why we have air pressure here. And it decreases the higher you elevate, like when you go on top of a mountain. It's because there's less mass above pushing, resisting, I guess you could say. Because matter resists because of inertia, right? So again, air pressure is only there because there is a force over the Earth. But again, that force is not a pull, it's a push. Again, if you globe Earth believers will say that, oh, it's the pulling force of the Earth that's pulling the air down, that's creating that pressure. But then a helium balloon goes in the opposite direction, which defies physics.
Can I clarify something?
Yes.
This is, you believe the Earth is flat?
No, the Earth is not flat. So the flat Earth is a psyop. So let me explain this before I guess you get to your next point. So over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So that's the mainstream flat Earth. So the
Okay.
whole globe Earth versus flat Earth is a false dichotomy, because motionless flat earthers actually
because
believe.
you believe something in between the two.
No. So here's the thing. Motionless flat earthers believe also that there is some kind of pulling force. But they deny gravity. They claim it's something else. They don't even have an explanation, yet alone a practical demonstration. The fact is, the Earth is a level plane that's in upwards motion, because level is an orientation, which requires a force. In order for something to be level, it needs to be undergoing a force. And that force is the vertical, but it's not down, it's up. So that's the big psyop, pretty much.
So you believe what?
So if the Earth is a level plane, that's in upwards motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So the
you believe that it's flat,
Well, I don't have-
theoretically, but not
no,
like the
because
flat
level and
Earth.
flat are two completely different things. Because something that's
Okay,
flat,
level to what?
level to the vertical force of the Earth, relative to the vertical force. That's what gives us orientation, is the force of the Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, motionless flat earthers, which is the mainstream flat Earth, which
So is there an underside?
nobody's been outside of the Earth. So the Earth is a contained
Nobody
system.
has been outside of
Nope.
here.
So the Earth is a contained system as well. So again, we have air pressure here on Earth, 14.7 psi. In order to maintain air pressure without, losing air pressure, the air has to be physically contained by some kind of physical barrier. So the Earth is being contained by some kind of physical barrier, in my opinion.
So maybe like snow.
You could say that, but if I'm being honest, I don't know what that container looks like.
A snow globe?
No, you could say that, but in reality, nobody knows what the container looks like.
Right.
I don't know what it looks like. I don't make any claims that I can't prove, but physics shows that the Earth, again, in order to have air pressure, you need a physical barrier. And in order to have buoyancy, you need a force. You need something pushing on something else that's pushing something else.
Right.
So again, in my opinion, the number one proof that debunks the globe Earth is the fact that there is no pulling force of gravity, because the whole heliocentric model relies on that belief. Because in order to believe the Earth is a ball, you first have to believe in the pulling force of gravity. Because then how do they explain people sticking to it?
Do you believe in the heliocentric?
No. The whole heliocentric model, in my opinion, is a lie, obviously.
Well,
But
we do have to go.
before you guys go, I guess, 1 minute, what's the number one reason that makes you believe the Earth is a ball? I
don't know, maybe our education, maybe believing that the moon landing was real and
okay.
not a conspiracy.
Right. Would you say it's based on faith, then? Why you believe the Earth is a ball?
Faith, I don't know, maybe trust in science.
I would trust faith, I would say is the same.
Right.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't trust science. Science should be measurable, testable, and repeatable. We should be able to prove it to ourselves.
Which we have measured gravity before in labs.
Well, not even Einstein did. That's why he came up with the theory of relativity. And it's called a theory
but they
because...
don't, push theories widespread unless they're
they're
pretty
trying to...
well proven.
Well, that's the thing. If it was proven, then it wouldn't be a theory. And they push it as a theory. Yeah, if something it's not a theory that cell phones exist.
If it can be proven, then it can still be a theory.
You could build theories off of something that's true. I agree with that. But the claim that gravity is a pulling force, that's not true. And it's based off of nothing. It's not based on any practical physics. So that's why it remains a theory. But yeah. All right.
I hope you
Appreciate.
have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. You too. She was actually pretty smart in a sense where she actually somewhat understood the normal force and all of this, for example. Like kind of caught me a little bit off guard because most people don't even know that, So the fact that she knew about the normal force and all of that, just shows that at least she's paying attention in class somewhat, right? Or so most people don't care. Let's just be honest. Most people don't care, but they still believe it, So what that comes with is when people don't care, they don't really care about the explanations either. So they don't really understand, or memorize them, I guess you could say, because it's not about understanding, because there's nothing to understand. It's just a claim. They're baseless claims. So at least they memorized, the claims, I guess, right? And the explanations, right? So the fact that she knew about the normal force, which is a real force, kind of pushed back a little bit, because in her mind, she has an explanation of what the normal force is, right? And in her mind, like most globe earth believers, is you could have a force or you could have pressure without motion, So I know, I'm pushing my hand against the wall and it's not moving, right? But they don't realize is that you are moving your hand towards the wall to create that pressure. If you were not moving your hand towards the wall, there will be zero pressure. When you apply a force, now you're moving towards the wall, you're pushing your hand against the wall, you're creating pressure. Now if you apply more force, then you get more pressure. If you're moving towards the wall even harder, or trying to move faster, right, towards the wall, you're gonna get more pressure. But again, you will have to be physically moving towards the wall to create that pressure. Again, the resistance of the wall is obviously going to be greater than the force you're applying. But let's say you use some kind of, like a car, right, moves towards the wall. Guess what? The car is going to break the wall because the force is greater than the resistance of the wall. Now you can see the motion going through the wall, right? But again, in order to have pressure, you need something that's in motion. You need something moving to create that pressure, right? I mean, it's in the name, pressure. The word press is in the word pressure. And in order to press something, you require something moving. Something has to be moving towards something else to create the pressure, to press it. I mean, it's in the language that we use, so it's kind of crazy, to have to explain this, but it is, that's the situation we find ourselves in, So yeah, I mean, at least they stopped and had the chat, So, oh, and not only that, she actually got the helium balloon question, even though it was kind of a guess. At least she got it and gave it a little explanation to why, because the helium is less dense than the air, right? So So yeah, it's pretty crazy. But obviously, her defense mechanism obviously went up. You know, she, you could, you know, obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys heard when the switch happened. You know, she was obviously open at first. You know, like taking in the information, obviously accepting it, getting all the answers right. And yeah, just to fumble it after, just because of a bias. You know, but again, and I get it. You know, it's not people's fault 100%. Because at the end of the day, when we're children, again, we are a victim to our environment. When we're very young, not only are we a victim to our environment, but we're a victim to other human beings, you know, that are older and, I guess, wiser, right? And yeah, we're just gonna place trust and have faith that we are being told the truth, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's just about breaking out of that, you know. That's what this whole topic is about. It's about breaking out of this mentality of just trusting people. That's what it comes down to. It's not about the shape of the earth, you know, if anything, you know, it's more about not trusting any other human being, for example. Because human beings lie. So why would you place any trust on another human being when you don't have to? You know, that's the thing. That's the main point. You don't have to place trust in other human beings. So why do so? Why believe another human being? What happens if you don't? Oh, I'm gonna be ridiculed and I'm gonna be labeled a conspiracy theorist. Oh no, so I have to believe in what these experts say, because if I go against it, I'm gonna be singled out. Oh no, like, so they're bullying people now. Guess what? You don't believe in what we're preaching? Well, guess what? We're gonna bully you. We're gonna call you names. We're gonna label you a conspiracy theorist. And you're gonna lose all credibility now. And you're gonna be made fun of and all this shit. So again, bullying tactics. Bullying tactics. That's what it comes down to as well. Like, oh yeah, you don't believe this? You're gonna go against this? Well, guess what? You're gonna be attacked now. And that's why a lot of people are closet globe earth deniers. I was gonna say flat earthers, but I'm trying to stay away from that word again. It's very triggering. I get it. You know, the flat earth is dumb. It's just as dumb as the globe earth. Why? Both globe earth and flat earth claim that objects accelerate down without any effects of acceleration, which is the number one thing that the globe earth requires. The whole heliocentric model requires people to believe in this magical force that can accelerate matter altogether without any effects of acceleration in freefall. Again, that is the root of the globe earth belief. So the fact that you have motionless flat earthers now claiming and believing that same thing, that objects can accelerate down without any effects of acceleration, then I hate to break it to you, you are no different than a globe earther. You're basically like a globe earther in disguise without even knowing, for most people. You know, obviously, in my opinion, a lot of motionless flat earthers, especially online, are deliberately pushing that idea. So they're literally globe earthers in disguise. Literally. So the majority of people that watch these channels are just being swayed into another belief system. You know, not knowing that they're buying into another globe earth model that's in disguise, pretty much. Like any motionless flat earthers that just believe the earth is flat, guess what? You're reinforcing the globe earth model. The irony, right? The irony. Like, you want to expose the globe, you know, all of this shit, but yet believing in the motionless flat earth and claiming it, you're reinforcing the globe earth. You're doing the opposite of what you think you're doing or what you should be doing, right? So it's crazy. It's crazy. the position that we find ourselves in, especially with these motionless flat earthers that are just stuck, you know. So yeah, I kind of feel sorry for you at the same time, but at the same time, it's like once you hear someone like myself showing the demonstrations, once you see the demonstrations that contradict the motionless flat earth, for example, then like you only have yourself to blame at that point, especially if you're a grown-ass adult, right? I get it if you're a child still, you know, in middle school, high school even, like, you know, your mind hasn't fully developed, right? I get it. But if you're a grown-ass adult that denies physical reality, practical demonstrations in favor of your bias or just a story or an explanation that defies physics, then you have no one else to blame but yourself. Like, literally. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So yeah. Pretty crazy. I should have gave her a flyer. I just had a feeling that they were gonna deny it, so I didn't even offer. But I still should have. I still should have offered, and not leave it up to what if, right? To a what if, because it just seemed like they were not gonna take it, right? Based on how they were pushing back. But I still should have offered, low-key. Yeah, so from now on, I'll try to like just offer it to everyone, right? That speaks to me, you know. Even though I know they might deny it, but at least let them deny it. And that way, there's no doubt, right? So yeah, I mean, hopefully we get a couple more. That'll be good. So let me see. Salinellian, Sean, Angela, Nate X, Cal40, Mr. Spudge Gun Cat, Mr. Spudge Gun Cat. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'll just call you Mr. Cat, right? Mr. Cat. City, V. Thomas, the Jolly Man. What's up, Andrew? Execrate. What's up, Nat? Good to see you all. Blown smoke, man. No, yeah, we'll unblock Dr. Bass. No worries. We'll unblock the other account. Beyond belief, #1 globe proof. I was educated that way. That's what the experts say. Right? That's like another one. That's what I was told by all my teachers and all the experts on TV. That's what they say. So that's why I believe it. You know, I don't have any practical physics to back up my claim, but just because an expert said it, that's why I believe it, right? I mean, you could just change the word from expert to a cult leader. Let's just change the word from expert to cult leader, and let's see how it sounds. Oh, I only believe that because my cult leader told me so. Oh, my cult leaders, you know, all my cult leaders, you know, told me that. So that's why I believe it. I mean, it's no different, you know, it's the same logic. You know, they're just changing the words so that they don't sound so bad, you know. But again, a lot of the cult leaders don't even realize they're in a cult themselves. Think about that. A lot of the teachers, right, nowadays, that teach heliocentrism or astrophysicists, you know, all of this bullshit, you know, physics professors or astrophysics professors, for example, because obviously if there's a physics professor that deals with real world practical physics, and yeah, kudos to you. When you're talking about astrophysics and shit about outer space and about the Earth being a globe and all of that bullshit, it's all bullshit, and most of these professors believe it. They just believe it. They just blindly believe it and blindly teach others about it. So again, that's like a cult member, a cult leader that doesn't even realize they're in a cult either, right? Yet alone the cult members that he's teaching, you know. So if the cult leaders don't even realize they're in a cult, what does that say about the cult members? You know. So yeah, we're in a deep shithole, that's for sure. That's for sure. How are we gonna get out of it? Damn. I mean, having one-on-one conversations. I mean, what other way is there? I mean, we could try to use the internet like I am right now, but we know that can only go so far. We know that the powers that be, right, have full control of all the algorithms in every platform, whether that be Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube, you know, any other platform that you could think of, Twitch, you know, they're gonna have control of the algorithms, meaning you're not gonna be able to reach a lot of people online or at all, you know, right? Unless somebody is literally sharing your channel, like, you know, directly to their friends and peers, and then no one new is ever gonna see your channel, right? But guess what? Coming out and speaking to people directly, they cannot censor that. You know, they can't stop you from talking to people in the real world about this. You know, so that's the way forward. You know, that's how we're gonna get out of this, is by having real conversations.
Just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
The answer is
No. You want to take some information with you?
I don't know.
If you don't want to do this.
Smarter?
Oh yeah, everyone is smarter than a 5th grader, in my opinion. Yeah. Yes. It's, what happens is that people don't trust their own common sense. That's what happens.
Well, yeah, but then you have genius 5th graders.
You could say that. I would say most of these genius 5th graders are good with memorizing things. Because when it comes to common sense, you don't need to memorize anything. You just need to trust your common sense. Like crossing the road. You don't need to go to school for that. You just need to trust your common sense to know that cars are not going to pass by when you're crossing the road. So this is what this is about. So if you trust your common sense, you're definitely smarter than a 5th grader. You know, a 5th grader can easily be swayed to not trust their common sense. They're still very young and gullible. Again, it could be very smart in the sense where they can memorize a lot and they could seem smart. But the reality is we're all equally smart. That's the reality.
One of the things that got me is there's this teacher, everybody loves this person. They have a valid point when they went on a hike with somebody that has a doctorate degree. Okay. It was after a fire.
After a fire.
So, you know, naturally you have those new native plants that probably nobody knows. And so this person with a PhD was asked, you know, like, what is that?
Right.
You know, they said the most professional answer. I don't know.
Exactly. That's the most honest answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, even if you're that high in your education, it's okay to not know.
Exactly. Again,
No.
trust me, you are. When it comes to like overall, just common sense in general, you are smarter than a 5th grader. I can guarantee it. You wouldn't be alive right now if you weren't. You know, it's your senses that keep you alive every day. If it wasn't for your senses, if we were blind and deaf and we'll walk into a train, we wouldn't survive.
There is a gentleman. It was, I want to say it was a YouTube thing.
Okay.
Oh man, this gentleman, I want to say it was like, know, I think it might have been like right out of high school age or something. But it was a black gentleman, and literally, I kid you not, he was blind and deaf, could ride a skateboard, could go up and down stairs, and I mean, literally like la 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 la. And the sense, you know how if you're, you know, like if you're blind, your
hearing becomes way better. Yes,
exactly.
yes.
And so just like with sea creatures, how they do like that
sonar. Yes, yes.
It's like he could do that. It's like he would just like, and it's like, you know, he would be able to hear, you know,
how far things are,
and and not seeing it.
No, yeah, that's very impressive. I've seen a lot of people that are born blind, for example, and they utilize that, and they're able to get around like normal, right?
Yeah, I was just
that's pretty
about
impressive.
I'm part of the summer research program club, and they had a transfer thing this morning, and man, I was in tears because there's so many people out there that don't, like, either don't know that they have a disability, or that they do know, but they're turning that disability into an ability.
Yeah. No, yeah, it is. No, yeah, humans, we're capable of much more than we think. That's for sure. It's just that a lot of people are just too distracted nowadays that they don't really look into themselves and feel themselves and, you know, and really contemplate, that we don't focus on ourselves. You know, we're just too distracted with entertainment, with, you know, TikTok and all of that. And it's just, I hate to say it, but it's kind of rotting people's brains nowadays.
It's, I mean, like going around here, it's like, oh my gosh, there's amazing people. I actually thought I was in front of the door, and I might be. Is that the Pierce Hall? Is that the Pierce Hall?
I don't know, actually. I'm not too familiar.
I think it might be that one.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at that door going, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm supposed to be studying.
I see.
I'm supposed to do a research project.
Yeah.
You know, can I just, like, put my hours down for like talking to amazing people, taking
right?
pictures, advertising for UCR.
Right. No, yeah. There's different ways for sure, right?
It's just like, go eat, only go to the people that are serving you food. Yeah. And then go to the library and study.
Yeah.
No talking.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But yeah, so you have someone on, you were saying about paperwork or of literature on common sense.
Oh, this is what I talk about. I mean, you don't want to do the questions, do you?
No.
Okay, here, you can take these with you. And I talk, and this is what I talk about. And I go to different universities. I go to I've gone to UCR, I go to USC, and I come here a lot.
Wait, UCR,
I mean, I go to UC Irvine, I'm sorry. I go to UC Irvine,
okay.
USC, and I come to UCR as well, a lot.
Yeah.
And that's the main topic that I talk about, because over 95% of the population believe something that's not true. So, in my opinion, it's the biggest lie on earth. And you probably heard about this subject. And again, if you have any questions about it, you know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, you know what? One of the things.
Yes.
Now that I'm looking at the water side of things, I live where it's like, I know I'm not supposed to use this word, but I live where it's a bad word.
Dirt?
I know we're supposed to call it soil.
Oh, I see.
But, oh my gosh, you can look at it on Google. It's like, but if I were to cowscape it, there's over 400 native plants in my zip code.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry here, let me help you out. So, you want to conserve water? Maybe this is common sense, I'm sorry. How about we plant native plants?
Yeah. That's all.
And not leave the earth bare?
Yeah.
Because when you're doing that, you're raising the water table and the salinity levels.
Yeah.
And the toxicity going in there.
Yeah.
I'm new at this. I just started, and I'm like way crazy. Person over the past spring of 23.
23. Okay. 2 years.
So that's
Spring 2023.
23. Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago. All
Yeah,
right.
so and before that, I was really bad.
Oh, okay. I see.
So yeah, like really, because I would view myself as how people now
Yeah.
see agriculture.
I see.
Okay, so I'm Heather.
Yeah, I'm William. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so help me out here. This is really simple. It's common sense.
Yes.
Okay, so but not many people know it, and I didn't know. So
Okay.
agriculture is
The land. Everything.
and everything is
Us.
agriculture.
Okay. Vice versa.
So,
Sure.
yeah, because you think about when people think of agriculture, they think, oh, you know, okay, that's like, you know, like plants, farming, land, and animals.
Yeah.
No, anything that was made came from somewhere.
Yes. That's a fact. 100%. Yeah.
Agriculture. Agriculture.
Yeah.
So even below what you're standing on, it had to be mined. It's part of soil.
Yeah.
It's part of agriculture.
Yes.
So literally, the air you breathe, agriculture.
Yeah.
NASA. Agriculture.
Sure.
Medical field, where do they get their medicine from? Or their tools.
Right. Yeah, everything comes from the earth. At the end of the day, all materials, you know, come from the earth eventually. Yeah. Everything can get traced back to the earth.
Now I just need to stop overthinking and go, Heather, where are you going with it?
Right. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I'm here doing the summer thing, and I'm like, there's something. I'm not here. If you want me here, you're going to get here.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I never, well, you kind of know.
I'm sorry?
Do you know, like, people here that, like, work here and stuff like that?
No, not really. I just come here on my own. I don't really know anyone. Just
So one of the ladies that helped and, like, you know, encouraged the program here,
Yeah.
her name's Liz, and we were talking and stuff, and she was sharing even this morning
okay.
that I need to reach out to somebody that's really trying to fight to not only get, like, the ag bigger here,
Yeah.
but to bring in people, like, from Victor Valley College, and that's why I'm from.
Okay.
And I'm like, right here. The name she gave is the one that's like the professor
Yeah.
of who's doing the project that I'm working on.
Yeah.
But he's not here.
Okay, I see.
I don't know when he's coming back, but it's so funny because it's like, oh yeah, I'm like your go-to person. I know everybody there. I know who, what, when, where, how. You know, this person did. You know what? You might as well just get a hold of me. I'll text them. Check your email. So and so's email.
Oh yeah. No worries.
This one never turns their email. This one's definitely go to. This one, impossible to get a hold of.
For real, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I appreciate the chat.
Yeah.
So my channel's on there, and you could check out the conversations and how they go. Yeah, my YouTube channel. That's that one.
Okay.
Yeah, you could check it out when you have some free time. Yeah.
I don't know how soon I'll change my mind, but I'm supposed to know.
If you have an open mind and you're honest with yourself, it'll definitely
say
trigger
yes.
something. It'll definitely trigger something. You know.
I could say yes.
Yeah, definitely.
If I don't think so, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I will give it a shot
Yeah.
and try and say yes, but I still think yes.
Yeah. All right. You have a good day. All right. Take care.
William, right?
William. Yes, it's on the flyer too.
Heather.
All right. Appreciate it. So that was like a random conversation. You know. So yeah, I did see some people passing by looking at the table, like a couple of different groups. It looked like they kind of wanted to stop, but since they see me talking to someone already, they kind of didn't. So it kind of sucked in that sense, because I would like to see if they would have stopped, but oh well, I didn't want to like be rude or anything and cut the conversation short, right? Because I'm here to talk about this subject, obviously, you know. Sometimes it could go off topic, I get it, you know, but my main purpose is to talk about the shape of the earth and expose how it's physically not a globe. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully we get one more at least, man. No, yeah, I've been like really busy lately with work and just stress of life in general. Like, it's kind of hard to like, you know, having to deal with, you know, full-time work and, you know, having to, you know, just deal with how everything's going, you know, and also, you know, being there for your family and stuff. It's kind of hard to come out to do this, you know. It's not that easy. I mean, it's easy talking to people and talking about the subject, right? It's the build up to this that's not that easy. Making the time, you know, to come out, you know, and all of that. So yeah, it's definitely not hard once you're out here again talking to people about this, especially if you understand what you're talking about. But yeah, it's like, fuck, having the will, that's the hard part. Having the will to come out here and do this is like, fuck. That's not that easy. Like, fuck. Especially, you know, I've been working a lot, just get home tired, you know, I have a day off and, you know, I really don't want to come out, you know, on my day off, because then the next day I got to go back to work, and it's like, fuck. So that's why I've been skipping a lot, just trying to get some rest, you know. But I mean, there's literally no other way to move forward with this. Literally, like, there's no other way than to talk to real people in the real world, you know, directly, you know. So I'm mainly doing it, trust me, I'm not even doing it for myself, you know. If I was being selfish, and, you know, then I wouldn't come out and do this. Coming out here to do this is actually pretty selfless. Is that the opposite of selfish? I don't even know. But yeah, I'm doing it to push this forward. I want people to understand their reality and understand that we've been lied to about the nature of our existence, about the nature of who we are. That's what it comes down to, man. Like, fuck. So I want people to understand. I want to push this forward, you know. I want this to move forward. You know, not necessarily me push it forward, you know. Again, I'm nobody. But I want this to be pushed forward. So, I mean, if nobody else is doing it, then I guess, you know, then I have to do something, right? Try to reach new people, and hopefully, you know, someone gets inspired and, you know, or something, and they can do it themselves as well, and, you know, and push it forward, you know. But fuck. Yeah, I guess finding the will to do this in the shitty ass system that we live in and the shitty ass situations that we find ourselves in, it's not that easy. Because again, this is elementary level stuff. You know, the proofs, the facts that debunk the globe earth, it's elementary level. A child can understand it, you know. It's not it's not rocket science, right? It's not rocket science to understand that rockets don't go to space, you know. It's very easy, elementary level physics, you know, that debunk all of these claims. But yeah. Oof. But yeah, a lot of people think that oh, there's fifth graders that are geniuses and they're way smart and blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. Like I said, a lot of fifth graders or a lot of children that are considered geniuses, right? It's all about memorizing an algorithm. That's how they flex. You know, I'm not even saying little kids flex, but that's how people portray that these children are smart, right? And to me, smart is having common sense. You know, trusting your own common sense, and again, not be swayed. You know, that's, to me, that's the foundation of being smart, is to trust your own intuition. You know, have an understanding for yourself. You know, that's the root of being smart, in my opinion. But again, a lot of people who see fifth graders, right, that are super intellects, right, and it's just that they're really good at algorithm, or they're really good at memorizing stuff, and because they can repeat what they memorized at that very young age, something that an adult can't do, right? Most people can't even memorize a sentence, yet alone a paragraph or whatever. Then they appear smart. You know, that's all it is. They're only appearing to be smart just because they're good at algorithm, and that's where math comes in. So that's why they elevate mathematicians, right? Because what are they good at? They're just good at algorithm. That's what math is. It's just algorithm. And again, and when it comes to like memorizing things too, if you can regurgitate what you memorized about a particular subject, then you're gonna appear smart. What's the capital of Massachusetts, or what's the capital of Delaware? Or, you know, if you can memorize all of these capitals to these states, then you can appear smart, you know. But
you got some trivia questions?
oh yeah, 2 multiple choice, very easy questions. So we'll start with the first one here.
Okay.
So I have 3 different box trucks, and there's a bowling ball hanging with a string in all 3 box trucks. So one of these box trucks is accelerating forward, one is at rest, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
Yes. Why would you say B?
Because it's not moving in, you know, the right or left direction.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not reacting to anything, so it's at rest. So which one's accelerating forward?
A.
Yes. Why would you say A?
Because it's moving opposite of the car's direction.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's heavier.
Yes, exactly. Due to inertia.
Yeah.
And that's a simple. But could we say that the bowling ball is being left behind, and it's the whole
for
truck?
sure.
Exactly, right? So it's
Yeah.
being left behind. Exactly. Perfect. You got it. So the second one, very similar, but instead of a bowling ball, is a helium balloon. So again, same thing. Out of these 3 box trucks, which one is at rest?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with B again.
Yes, and it's for the same reason.
Yeah.
The first one, exactly. So which one's accelerating forward?
Damn, bro. I don't know if it's a trick question or not, but I want to go with A again.
Okay. Yeah, this one's actually C.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me explain why. The reason why it's C is because when the truck is accelerating in that direction forward, for example, the air also in the box truck is also being moved in that direction because, you know, it's being contained.
And helium is lighter than air.
Yes, so air is able to push
That
it in that
makes
same
sense.
direction.
That makes sense.
So again, that's what we will call buoyancy.
Yeah.
So buoyancy always follows the direction of the force.
Yeah, this is
Or-
bad.
No, yeah. So again, I have a buoyant object here inside the water that's more dense than the ball. If I accelerate the container in this direction, what direction will the ball swing?
So you got that.
It's obviously less dense than the water. So
Yeah.
what direction will the ball go if I accelerate this
I mean,
direction?
it's gonna go in the same direction.
Yes.
As C, like forward, right?
There you go. I
Alright,
got
so-
it. Again, perfect. So here, let me show you this. Since we understand buoyancy always follows the direction of the force, here I did it with a helium balloon in a cargo van and an apple, you know, tied to a string.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what direction would you say I accelerated this van, to the right or to the left?
To the right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the apple is not swinging in the opposite direction; it's just being left behind.
I feel you.
Exactly, because the air is again pushing the helium balloon, but the air's not dense enough to push the apple.
No, that's real.
No, yeah. So here, let me show you this real quick. So matter will always react to acceleration 100% of the time. So let me just show you this one. So I was holding a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball, and I only accelerated one of the bottles down. which one would you say I physically accelerated down? The one on the left or the one on the right?
The one on the right.
Yes, exactly, because that one shows a reaction. Matter reacts to that acceleration, to that force.
That's pretty true.
Okay, let me ask you this. If I was to just hold it and release it into free fall, in other words, I didn't accelerate it, but I just simply released it into free fall, do you believe it got pulled down towards the earth? It accelerated down towards the earth?
Yeah.
Yeah? So here's the thing. The one on the left...
Don't tell me I'm wrong.
No, here's the thing. The one on the left is actually free fall. I just released it. But we see that matter didn't react to that
That's 'cause it's
acceleration.
full, no?
No, it should react because the water should be able to push the ping pong ball in that same direction because the water's also moving in that same direction through space. But I don't know if you knew gravity is just a theory. What that means is that they never physically proven gravity because a physical downwards acceleration has never been measured because matter doesn't react to acceleration in free fall.
Are you about to say the earth is flat?
No.
Okay.
But I am getting to how the globe cannot be a ball because flat earth is a psyop as well. But here, let me tell you this. When I have a helium, if you understand buoyancy follows the direction of the force every time.
Alright.
If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? Why does it go up, do you think?
It's lighter than air.
Yes, so the air, could we say, is pushing it up?
Yeah.
So again, the air, in order for the air to be able to push helium up, it has to also be moving up in that same direction.
Okay.
So what's pushing up the air to be able to push up the helium? What do you think?
The natural ebbs and flows of air. It's constantly moving. Like, I feel wind right now.
Yeah. I would say the wind we feel is because the different pockets of air pressure here on Earth, so the air moves to fill in those gaps, so we feel the air rushing. But the reason, why do you think helium goes up though? Why doesn't it go to the side or to the left or down? Why does it go up?
Helium itself?
Helium itself, for example, if you have a helium balloon, why does it go up? It has orientation, that's why it goes up. Why?
For sure. I mean, I'm not
It
crazy
is
versed on the chemistry, but I'm sure that it has helium itself has a lower atomic weight than oxygen or something like that.
So again, we go back to the air pushing it up. So the fact is, air cannot push itself either. So the Earth is pushing up the air, which is pushing up the helium.
I mean, naturally,
That's what's happening.
if something if you push wind that way and it disperses, isn't it it's dispersal gonna go in all directions, including up? So if I have a fan, eventually would I blow it's only gonna blow for as strong as it is,
Yes.
and then it eventually
It just goes up.
slightly,
Yeah.
and it's a little down, but mostly up, because you know.
Yeah.
It's
So
natural.
here's the thing, because a lot of people would say, "Oh, gravity pulls the air down, and then air is able to push helium up." That defies physics, because the air has to be moving in the same direction that the helium is moving. Cool. So here's the thing: when I release this object into free fall, it doesn't accelerate down, because what's happening is when I release it, it's the Earth that comes up to meet it.
Yeah.
So this, it looks like it goes down because we're also moving up with the Earth as well.
Oh, so you think?
So
yeah.
everything is moving up right now. So when something's not connected to the Earth, then it's simply the Earth that's moving up to catch up to it. So gravity is not a pulling force of the Earth, is a pushing force, exactly. And that's why gravity as a pulling force is just a theory, because it doesn't exist.
Okay, for sure.
So let me just ask you this before you go.
No problem.
You believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yes.
On a ball, up is relative. In other words, if you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing down here, up is this way. In every direction away from the center.
Yeah.
So up is relative on a ball. If we could prove that the Earth is literally moving up, pushing up, in other words, how would that work from a globe Earth? How can it push up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball?
It can.
Exactly.
That's why we don't believe
It can.
That's why we don't believe Earth is meeting us up.
Yeah, because that would mean the Earth will have to be expanding, and it would just explode. If it was pushing up in every direction, it would have to be growing. So the fact is, in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they have to believe in the pulling force of gravity, which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So the fact that the Earth is the force of the Earth is a pushing force debunks the entire globe Earth and the whole heliocentric model.
I know.
So
I know.
phys-
It's just
so-
that right now I'm working on a physics lab, and if I get caught on camera not being able to prove that
So let me ask you this: what's the number one proof that makes you believe the Earth is a ball? No, why do you believe the ball Earth? No, why do you believe it? Because you were told, huh?
I just want to know.
Yeah, that's why you believe it.
You're getting to the Earth is.
No, you didn't. Physics shows me that it's not.
You're
Physics shows me that it's
you're
not.
getting to the Earth is.
The Earth is not flat because over 95% of flat earthers believe the Earth is motionless. So the whole globe Earth versus flat
So what
Earth,
shape do you think the Earth is?
the Earth is a level plane. levels in orientation that's relative to the vertical force.
That's what you have to say?
Yes.
Alright.
This doesn't work in free fall. So if
Okay.
you're in free fall and you try to level this, it won't work.
Yeah,
This,
I feel you.
yeah, so yeah, the Earth is not a globe, and physics shows that.
Godspeed, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, your friend there got a little triggered. He wasn't even part of the conversation.
Are you gonna post this somewhere?
Well, I'm live, but it's recording me.
Okay.
But here, take my channel. I go to all the universities here in Southern California, and I talk to all the students who want to check it out. Here you go, man.
I'll take a picture of it.
Oh yeah.
What is the trivia thing I could win money on? Do you post like the clips or something?
Some of them, not all of them.
Okay.
But yeah.
This one isn't posted really. I mean, I was just. Yeah.
No worries,
If you
man.
post it, just make sure you post the part where I thought I was gonna win money.
No worries, man.
Alright.
All right, take care. The other guy was so triggered, he even said, "Fuck you." Oh my god, he was super triggered. And then I asked him, "Why do you believe the Earth is a globe?" And he just walked away. And he just said, "Research." Oh my god, I felt it. I felt it. Like, I felt his anxiety. I felt his anger. Like, literally, like, it's crazy. Crazy how triggered he got. He wasn't even part of the conversation. You know? It's pretty crazy. It's mind-blowing. You know, and I was trying to invite him over, but he just ran away, just calling me names. Wow. Wow. I haven't came across an individual like that in, like, quite a long time. But it's crazy to think. Now imagine I wasn't recording. He probably would attack me. Physically, literally. I have no doubt that he would probably physically attack me if I didn't have these cameras right now. Like, did you guys hear what how he was saying? Like, he literally was just calling me names. Like, it's crazy. Like, literally, he was saying "fuck you," like, directed at me. Like, not saying like, "Oh, what he's saying is bullshit." I know he was telling me, "Fuck you, you're an idiot," or I don't know what the hell else he said. But it's like, wow. And I was still trying to invite him over. I was still trying to, you know, have a conversation with him, and I just ran away. Just ran away like a scared little child. You know, that kind of behavior, mentality, in other words, it's a bit scary. Not gonna lie, like, and I say it's a bit scary because people, again, they don't have their emotions in check. Like I was talking about earlier. Like, you need to have your emotions in check. Again, if you're gonna talk about science, if you're gonna talk about practicality, again, science in general, physics, right? If you're gonna talk about if you're gonna have a physics conversation, your emotions need to be completely out of that conversation. When we're talking about physics, your emotions have no place in a conversation about physics. But when people don't have their emotions in check, and you're talking about physics, and they get all riled up and they're all angry and they start calling you names, they're like a child throwing a tantrum. Literally. They literally are showing that they cannot even control their own emotions, yet alone have an intellectual conversation about physics. So again, it's pretty bizarre, it's pretty crazy to actually experience it and be on the receiving end of that, you know. And again, it could be a little scary in a sense where you don't know what they're gonna do. They're so unhinged, you know, that who knows what they're capable of actually doing, right? So another reason why I record is for my personal protection as well. So there's a lot of reasons to why I record when I come out and do these conversations. You know, one is, you know, it's obvious, it's for protection. You know, you don't know how people are gonna react. You don't know how people are gonna feel, you know, at the end of the day, and how they're gonna act and do, you know. So it's for protection first and foremost. Second, I like to share how these conversations go in the real world, because we all know how these conversations go online. They start talking about pointless shit, talking about shit that doesn't even matter, that doesn't prove either or, it doesn't prove the globe, it doesn't prove that it's level. It just goes on to fucking pointless ass conversations and basically pointless ass debates at that point. They're just debating ideas at the end of the day, because physics is not up for debate. Physics is what it is, and it's about understanding what's going on through recreating the conditions we experience. That's how you get an understanding of what's going on. Again, buoyancy being the number one proof, in my opinion, that shows that gravity is not a pulling force of the earth, and that it's actually a pushing force of the earth. Again, we can recreate these conditions and then reorientate buoyancy relative to the direction of the force. You know. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, man, when people don't have their emotions in check, you know, and then they just get emotional, and it's kind of funny. It is funny, in my opinion, as well, to witness like how emotional people get, right? How riled up they get, you know. But at the end of the day, it could be a little scary, you know, because you don't know. Again, they don't even know what the fuck they're gonna do. It's like they're on autopilot, just letting their emotions control them, you know. And it's like, yeah, you don't want to be associating yourself with people like that, in my opinion. Like, you know, you could say the wrong thing, you know, and they could get all fucking mad. And again, people that can't handle words and have to resort to name calling or even physical violence just shows that you shouldn't have any. You're not ready to be social, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's why there's a lot of dysfunction nowadays in society. Is because the majority of people don't have their emotions in check, and that's why a lot of people are not social. That's why you see a lot of antisocial people, and it's because, again, it's just to get your emotions in check, and it's one of the main things. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I was hoping he was gonna come back and like, at least, I mean, he did kind of show his face. I might show it. We'll see. I don't know. Pretty crazy though. Damn, I felt it though, man. It's pretty crazy. What's up, Mark? So yeah, I mean, it's not a complete ghost town, which is cool. It's not nearly as packed as it usually is though, but can't complain. Yeah. Pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of took me off. Caught me off guard. There we go. It kind of caught me off guard. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I even got a little emotional. I felt myself get a little emotional. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy how it's contagious. It's crazy how it's contagious too. Emotions are contagious. So if somebody's coming at you like angry, and you can easily fall into that same emotion and then give it to them right back, right? Like, you know. So it's crazy how emotions are contagious as well. And as a one kind of like in the receiving end of someone that's emotional, it's kind of, you know, you gotta be able to like stay grounded, you know, and not be swayed by their emotional rant or whatever. Like, remain logical, you know, in my opinion. That's the key, you know. And at the same time, remain cool, calm, and collected, you know. And yeah, I kind of felt myself get a little bit emotional when he was just talking shit, like like it was more like it wasn't anger, it was more like more of an exciting in a way, because he's so emotional about it that you know, obviously it triggered him. It triggered something in him. So so yeah, got me a little riled up a little bit too, like pretty crazy. But all I can do is learn from all of these interactions, you know. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can hope to do. So funny. Pretty crazy, man. Nah, I didn't give him a flyer. right now. I didn't give him a flyer. The other guy took a picture of the code, but he's not gonna look into it. You swear. Yeah, they were too close-minded. That they're just gonna ignore this. Ignore it till the day they pass. Like, that's a pretty sad life to live, in my opinion. Just to be willfully ignorant the rest of your life, imagine. And like, this crazy part is that he's pretty young. Like, obviously most of the students here are under 24 years old. Between 18 and 24 are the majority of the students here, so they're pretty young. And then to be willfully ignorant, you know, in my opinion, it's gonna be rough, you know. Again, you could just, you know, keep the blinders on, you know, and go along to get along, you know. And hopefully you don't come across someone else like me in the future, because, you know, it's not gonna go well, right, for these people. But yeah, I can only hope that with time, more and more people start talking about this, and eventually people are not gonna be able to hide from it, because that's what it comes down to, you know. People are so, again, they're so misinformed, you know, so gullible, you know, that they run away from facts that don't align with their worldview, I guess you could say. So when you present something that's factual to someone that has a particular worldview, and those facts go against that worldview, a lot of people just run away. They don't want to hear it, you know. They don't want to have their whole reality shaken up, right? Or turned upside down, in other words. Or in this case, turned right side up. Because if you believe you're on a globe, relative to people in Australia, you're upside down. You're living in an upside down world right now, relative to people in Australia. Somebody in a little golf cart right now, like, they're almost gonna stop to do this, but I think they're thinking about it. We'll see if they stop. Come on. God dang it. It's crazy though, like, it just trips me out. I'm almost speechless. I'm almost speechless to how people react to this subject. Like, it's crazy. Almost 10 years into this subject, you know, that I've been into this subject. Almost 10 years, and it still baffles me how triggered people get. Like, it doesn't get old. Yeah, I hate to say it, like, it doesn't get old. Like, it still trips me out, you know. Like, I understand, again, where people are coming from when they feel that way, but that still doesn't change how I feel about it, right? Because I understand, I get it, where, you know, but it doesn't change how I feel about it, and it fucking trips me out, you know. Like, it's crazy. Pretty crazy. So, Nellian, the globe is actually more insane than the stationary flat globe. I mean, yeah, you could say that in the sense where they make a bunch of claims about outer space and orbits and speeds and sizes of other planets and all of that. You know, if you add all that into the equation, then yeah, you could say the globe Earth is still more insane. They have a bigger story, right? And again, but the motionless flat Earth, you know, it's not too far off, you know, especially when they believe in the same thing that keeps the whole heliocentric model alive, that being the pulling force of gravity. You know, it's funny how motionless flat earthers will literally mock the fuck out of gravity, right? A pulling force of gravity. They'll literally mock it, not realizing that they believe in the exact same thing, just with a different name. You literally believe in the exact same thing, just with a different name. So the irony there, you know, when people literally mock gravity, flat earthers mocking gravity, is like you're laughing at yourself, you know, at the end of the day. You know, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty bizarre. And yeah, and people literally run with it, you know. So let me see if there's anything if there's anything valuable in the chat, any questions or any comments that I should address. Rom, NPC trigger moment. Exactly. And that's what it was. It was an NPC trigger moment, right? Ram, if we break someone's foundation for their beliefs, you literally pull the rug from under them mentally. Unless you instantly provide the logical way of thinking for them, they are going to flip. Yeah, you could say that. Their ego is bigger than their ability to think intellectually. Oh yeah, I agree, Andrew. Again, their ego is being fueled by emotions at that point, you know, literally. So again, when their emotions are not in check, their ego is just gonna take over at that point, you know. Yeah, because again, if people actually slow down and actually think about it and be honest with themselves, they wouldn't be that way. They wouldn't get that emotional, you know. The majority of people don't, which is actually a good thing in my opinion, you know. The majority of people I speak to at least remain somewhat civil, right? They don't name call, you know, they don't talk shit and stuff like that. But there is a few individuals out there that are like that. And yeah, it is pretty crazy. Mark, looks nice weather for it. Yeah, it's actually pretty good weather, especially under the shade. Right now feels really good. Like, I think it's like 85 degrees today. I don't know how much that would be in Celsius, but yeah, it's underneath the shade is really good. Pretty good. A pretty good breeze for sure. Mark, don't fight fire with fire. No, I know. That's obvious, you know. It's only gonna get worse when you fight fire with fire. That's why when people get really emotional, again, you gotta kind of check yourself and just let them finish their little tantrum. And if they're willing to have a grown-up conversation, then you can try and do that. But if they're not gonna check themselves, you know, and they're just gonna be throwing a tantrum, then you can't have a conversation with someone like that. You just gotta let them go at that point. You know, they got a lot of growing up to do. You know, so it's pretty crazy. You know, it sucks because I know that there's a lot of like children out there that would be way more open to this. And I think it's because they haven't been brainwashed as much. So maybe someone in middle school, you know, like a child, it will probably be a bit more open. And it's because they haven't gone through the full indoctrination, you know, in my opinion. But the indoctrination is everywhere. It's not just in school. It's in movies. It's in TV shows and music, you know, everywhere. Left, right, and center, you know. You're going to see different ways of manipulation, you know. So yeah. Don't fight fire with fire, that's for sure. No, yeah, beyond belief, physical reality isn't going away anytime soon. They're fighting themselves by denying it. Yeah, again, it's an internal battle people go through now. Like, once you present the facts to people that contradict the globe earth belief, at that point, like, either they're gonna be open to wanting to learn more, or they're just gonna have a battle with themselves at that point. Again, it's you're gonna, whatever you do after that, it's gonna be, you know, you're gonna be doing it to yourself. Like, if you're gonna be willfully ignorant now, you're doing it to yourself. If you're just gonna run away from this and try to ignore it and thinking that it's gonna change, or thinking that it's just bullshit, then you're the one doing that. Nobody else at that point is influencing you to make these choices. You know, so again, it's an internal battle people are gonna have to go through within themselves to get past that. You know, so yeah. When you deny reality, you're only hurting yourself at the end of the day. Again, just because the majority and experts claim that it is a globe, you know, that doesn't change reality. And that might give you a little bit of comfort, you know, but that's it. You're not gonna better yourself. You're not gonna grow mentally. You're not gonna become a better person in general if you just believe everything you're told. Imagine that, like if you just believe everything you're told, like, you're literally stumped. Like, you're not gonna do any self-growth anymore. You're doing the opposite now. You know, it's fucking insane, but yeah, that's what it is. Fuck, it's already been 2 hours. Let me put a little bit more time on the freaking parking real quick. 4, 6, 7. Man, I just wish that guy would have stood. The one that got all emotional. Like, at least have like a 2-minute conversation, at least on camera in front of me. You know, just to highlight, you know, that kind of behavior. It would have been good to highlight that. You know. But yeah. Basically ran away like a coward. Again, nothing personal, but that's what happened. You know, I was inviting him over and he just ran away. So I would have loved to have highlighted that behavior, you know, and that reasoning, right? Whatever reason he has, that kind of reasoning, and yeah, just to show, you know, that that's not what you want to be, that's not where you want to be, you know, and just to show from, you know, from a third perspective how that looks. Maybe, you know, it would be nice for him to see how he was acting from a third perspective, huh? You know. And to see if he still agrees with how he behaved, right? But yeah, it is what it is. Bates truther. Will I recommend having children in this cruel world? I think that's a very personal question. You know, it's in other words, it's subjective in my opinion. You know, because I could say, oh no, you shouldn't have children. You know, and this, but I have 2 children. You know, but again, it's a very subjective question. You know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if are we supposed to be here as humans? I mean, if we're not supposed to be here as humans, then reproducing is a trap in itself. Because that's how we keep the cycle going, huh? So if this is a prison, then again, we shouldn't be having children, in my opinion. That's one way out of this, is stop continuing the cycle to basically put ourselves back in here. Or putting others, in other words. But if it's not a prison, then I don't know. I honestly don't know. "85 Fahrenheit is 29 Celsius. Oh, okay, good to know. Beyond belief, the reason you experience orientation and directionality, not just of your own natural bodily construction, but of the very physical world surrounding you, is precisely because of the upwards force. Exactly. A lot of people that well, not even skydive, but like, let's say they do like the 0G planes, the parabolic flights, you know. Because obviously when you're like just simply skydiving, people could say that, oh, I can feel that I'm falling because I can feel the air rushing. So the air rushing, right, through them. They can kind of get a sense of orientation based on the direction of the air that's rushing, right? But if you're inside of an airplane, an enclosed system that's in free fall, for example, you're not going to have any of that air rushing through you. So when you experience a parabolic flight or a 0G flight, I guess you could say, and you close your eyes, you don't know what direction is up, down, left, or right. You have no orientation. You know, if you were to close your eyes, even if you leave them open, let's be real, like, you wouldn't feel orientation. You wouldn't feel the force of the earth, in other words. Therefore, you wouldn't know up from down, left from right, you know. So yeah, we rely on the force of the earth to determine orientation. That's where it's derived from. It's derived from the plumb, which is the upwards push of the earth, the vertical. Orientation is derived from the vertical force of the earth that you can only experience when you're physically connected to the earth. That motion of the earth vertically relative to us is what gives us our orientation, and that's how we know up from down, left and right, and every other direction. You know, it's derived from the plumb, you know, at the end of the day. So yeah, it's no given that orientation vanishes in free fall when you're not connected to the earth. Then you have no orientation. Then you don't know up from down, left and right, because you have nothing. You have no force to dictate that. You know. So motionless flat earthers are a bit worse when it comes to what gives you orientation. At least the globe Earth acknowledge that you need a force, right? Obviously their claim of a force is fucking ridiculous, but at least they acknowledge that you need a force, which you do. Motionless flat earthers, on the other hand, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it was created. You don't need a force to give you orientation. It's just there. Orientation was just programmed into matter. And since your body is made of matter, you know your body has orientation. That's why everything has orientation, because it was just programmed into it. And yeah, you don't need a force. You know, it was just programmed. Oh my god, that is insanity. That is literally insanity, in my opinion. You know, and they claim it's science. They claim that's a scientific claim. right? What the fuck? It's pretty crazy, and it's no different than the globe Earth. Like, oh, you can have a vacuum of space next to the Earth's pressure system without a solid barrier, right? And they claim that's science because gravity pulls it, right? Science, right? They just put the word science in front of it, and that's it. And that's what fucking motionless flat earthers are doing now too. Density and buoyancy, RDD, science. It's the science of RDD that gives us orientation. Little do they know, RDD is subject to the orientation on Earth. It doesn't create it. RDD doesn't create orientation. It's subject to the orientation. It's relative to the orientation that we already experience here. RDD only simply aligns with the direction of the force, or the orientation here on Earth. It doesn't create it. You see how they're trying to flip the script right there? RDD, it creates orientation of its own will, right? Like, what? But yeah, that's the belief, that's the claim. And yeah, if people want to believe that, and that's your problem, That's a personal problem at that point. And yeah, at the end of the day, this is individual journey that all of us have to go through. Even if you have a group of friends, right, and they talk to someone like myself, and they all get introduced to this subject at the same time, right, and to the proofs that debunk the, even if you're very close to a group like that, to come to these realizations and to be honest with yourself, to understanding this, it's gonna have to be an individual thing that you do. You're gonna have to go through this on your own. Because if you're looking at at your friends, you're looking around at your friends to see what you should believe, or what you should what you should do, I guess, right? Then that's no different than the situation you find yourself in right now. When you believe the globe Earth, that's all we did, when we first come across this subject. It's like you look at others. What do they have to say? I want to see what they have to say about this, or I want to see what explanation they have. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's okay to hear other people's opinions and stuff like that, but the main thing is that you have to come to an understanding for yourself. And that's why I say that this is an individual journey. You have to do it on your own. Again, people can point you in the right direction, but how do you know that that is the right direction, right? You have to prove it to yourself. Because again, if someone's pointing you in the right direction, for example, first of all, you don't know if they're pointing you in the right direction. You shouldn't just believe, anyone. Even myself, people that speak to me, don't just believe what I'm saying. Understand what I'm presenting. That's what it comes down to. Because I don't believe no one. I don't believe anyone about anything about physical reality. Hell no. Hell fucking no. I'm okay with saying I don't know. If you make a claim to me about physical reality and I don't know enough about it, I'm okay with saying I don't know. But can you explain it to me? Can you show me practically, so that I can understand, right? Because I don't want to just believe you. I want to understand where you're coming from. I want to understand how you ended up with this conclusion, right? And again, that takes work. That takes attention. You're gonna have to pay attention. You're gonna have to try to understand this. If you want to have an understanding. I mean, pretty common sense, but yeah, most people are not there. Execrate, yep, plant seeds and let them realize it themselves. They'll feel better about it. And they didn't just swap a belief to now believe in you. Exactly, yep. trust me, I don't want people to just believe me. I don't want to become like, who the fuck would want to become a fucking like a priest figure, you know, that just wants people to believe him. Like, I don't want that. I want, you know, strong, independent individuals that are able to think for themselves. Why? Because that actually benefits me. Why? Because when you have strong individuals that stand on their own 2 feet and think for themselves, now I'm gonna be able to learn from you. You might, you know, realize something that I didn't realize, and because you think for yourself, you're able to advance that, and I'm able to learn from it. So that can only benefit me. If people are actually thinking for themselves and stand on their own 2 feet without, you know, being swayed, then that's how we learn from each other. You know, that's how we can progress ourselves even better, even faster. You know, it's to learn from each other. But if people just believe everything they're told and they, you know, then how are we gonna better ourselves? How are we gonna learn from each other when we all just believe what the fuck this motherfucker is saying? You know, if we all just fucking believe what this fucking astrophysics tells us and we don't think for ourselves, how can we better ourselves? You know, it's impossible. It's literally impossible. So again, I want people to think for themselves and be a strong individual. You know, that only benefits the whole. That can only benefit me. It can only benefit everyone else. If you are honest with yourself and fuck the bullshit, that can only benefit everyone at the end of the day. See if they come. I was gonna invite them over, but you guys want to give it a shot? Okay, it worked. They were just gonna walk away. All right, all three. You guys could do it together too, to make it easier.
Is it experiment?
Yeah, it's 2 very easy multiple choice questions.
Multiple choice. Oh,
Multiple
okay.
choice. Yeah, very easy.
Oh.
So I have box trucks here, 3 box trucks, and there's a bowling ball hanging with a string. So out of these 3 box trucks, 1 is at rest, 1 is accelerating forward, and 1 is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Rest.
Yes, B. Why would you say B?
Because the ball is stayed here.
Yes, it's not swinging or it's not moving.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. So which one's accelerating forward? Yes. Why do you say A?
Because this ball is
Inertia? Because of inertia?
yeah.
Yeah, because of inertia. So the whole container is moving forward and the bowling ball is being left behind, pretty much, due to inertia.
Yeah.
So it appears to swing back, you know. So yeah, you got it. Pretty easy. So the second one's pretty similar, but instead of a bowling ball, is a helium balloon. So out of these 3, which one is at rest? B. Yes, you got it. For the same reason that the first one. Accelerating forward. Which one's accelerating forward? You say A? Which one would you say? A too?
Yes.
Which one would you say is accelerating forward? A?
Yeah.
In this, it's actually C.
What?
Yes, and I'm gonna explain why. Because when you accelerate the container, or in this case the box truck, in this direction, all of the air inside of the box truck is also being moved in that direction. So because air is more dense than helium, the air is able to
it's
push.
a helium.
Yes, it's
you
helium.
did?
Oh, yeah, I did say it was a helium. You probably didn't hear me.
Oh.
Yeah. So helium always follows the direction of the force. You know, because it's less dense than the air that surrounds it. Then I can show that here. Look, this ping pong ball is less dense than the water that surrounds it. If I accelerate the container this way, yeah, it goes in the same direction.
Oh.
Yeah. So buoyancy always follows the direction of the force.
Yeah.
So here, let me show you this. I did it in a cargo van with the helium balloon and an apple. An apple is obviously more dense than air, and a helium balloon is less dense than air. So understanding.
Here is an apple.
Yeah, the apple's red, the helium balloon is. So what direction would you say I accelerated this cargo van? To the right or to the left? To the right? You got it, yeah, because again, the helium balloon is showing you that the force is acting in that direction because the air is pushing it in that direction. So let me ask you this. So I had a water bottle like this with a ping pong ball and a steel ball. and I was holding it like this, and I only accelerated one down from these two. Which one did I accelerate down? The one on the left or the one on the right?
Ping pong?
Yeah, there's a red ping pong ball and a steel ball. The one on the right, yes, that's the one I accelerated now. Because we see that the matter reacts to that acceleration. That's another thing, matter will always react to acceleration. Especially when it's at rest, and then you accelerate, matter will always react. And then relative to the medium that surrounds it, that's the direction that they're gonna go, right? Now let me ask you this. If I was to just hold this at rest right now like this, and I released it into free fall, do you believe it accelerated down toward the earth? Like the bottle, if I release it?
You mean just the bottle, not the water?
Well, everything. Do you believe this whole thing accelerates down to the earth when I release it into free fall?
No.
Yeah, right? You believe gravity pulls it down, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The one on the left was actually free fall. I just released it, but we see that matter didn't react to that acceleration. So there was no reaction to acceleration in free fall because there is no physical downwards acceleration. I don't know if you guys knew, gravity is just the theory.
Yeah.
So that means that gravity as a pulling force has never been physically measured. So and the reason why is because matter doesn't react to acceleration in free fall because there is no physical downwards acceleration. So what's happening is, if we understand buoyancy always follows the direction of the force, if I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? Up. Exactly. Why do you think it goes up?
Because the weight is less
Than the air?
air.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the air is able to push it up, helium. We understand matter cannot move itself, just like the helium balloon cannot move itself. It relies on the air pushing it up. Air is inanimate matter as well that cannot move by itself. So what's pushing up the air to be able to push up the helium? There actually is, and you're standing on it right now. The Earth. So the Earth. So they call it the normal force.
It's also gravity.
Well, that's the thing. Gravity, they're claiming it's a downwards force, but that has never been measured or proven. So that downwards force actually doesn't exist. The normal force, however, it's the upwards push of the Earth. So the Earth is literally pushing up the air right now, pushing up against you right now as well. And that same force of the push of the Earth is what pushes up the helium balloon through the air. So right now the air is moving up through space, but because we're all moving with the Earth together, it doesn't seem that way. But when I release an object into free fall, the reason why it doesn't accelerate down is because the Earth and everything else within it is moving up to meet it. So the helium balloon is less dense than the air, so it gets pushed up. This is more dense than the air, so the air is not able to push it up. So the Earth just catches up to it.
The Earth is extract both air and the helium.
Yes, the Earth is pushing up the air, which is pushing up the helium. So that's what we would call buoyancy. So let me ask you guys this. You guys believe the Earth is a ball, right? So up is relative on a ball. In other words, if you're standing here, up is in this direction, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction. And it's in every direction away from the center, up. If we could prove that the Earth is literally pushing up right now and it's not pulling you down, in other words, it's moving up, how can the Earth be moving up in every direction simultaneously if it was a ball?
Because they're core.
Yeah, but how would the surface of the Earth be able to push up or move up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball?
How to push the air up?
Yeah, exactly. Because physics shows us that the air pressure is acting in this direction, up. And that's why helium goes up. Because that's the direction that air pressure is acting. But the air pressure doesn't create itself. So I'm saying is that the Earth, the ground, is literally pushing up right now. And that's creating the air pressure. And physics shows us that. So how would that work from a globe if the ground was literally moving up through space?
Maybe something else in the space.
A lot of people would say, like, they would still say kind of like the spin of the Earth. They'll say the spin of the Earth, but that has nothing to do with the ground moving up. So here's the thing. In order for the ground to be able to move up, if it was a ball, that would mean the Earth will have to be expanding. So it would have to be growing in every direction to be able to push up in every direction. But that would mean the Earth would just explode. It wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force, which is the main thing of the globe Earth. But the fact is, the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. But if we actually understand that if it's literally the ground pushing up, then the Earth, again, as a globe, wouldn't exist, and not even on paper. So the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth is the fact that the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull. So the Earth is actually a level plane like this, and we're all standing on it. So orientation here on Earth is not relative, it's singular. So everybody here on Earth experiences the same up and the same down. Because again, the Earth is just an extended plane that's pushing up. It's not a ball that's pulling you down. So that's the fact. So gravity, again, the force you're feeling right now, it's the push of the Earth. You're not being pulled down to the Earth, you know, and physics shows us that. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what's the number one proof that makes you believe the Earth is a ball? Or why do you believe the Earth is a ball?
It's we saw a lot of pictures.
Pictures?
So yeah, like you set up a camera in the space. Yeah, it looks like
Okay.
it's a ball.
So I actually I do have a couple of photographs here, or pictures, because they're not photographs, but from NASA.
Yeah.
And I bring them here just to show people, because I know that that's one of the reasons why people believe it.
Yeah.
So this is an image from 2012, and then here's an image from 2002, and these are official NASA images. You can look them up.
Yeah.
They admit that these are CGI, so they admit that they don't have a real photograph of the Earth as a whole from outer space. So everything that we're being shown from space agencies is all CGI, admittedly so. So the fact is that a genuine photograph of the Earth from outer space doesn't exist. Yeah, so it's a bit weird, right? Trust me, when I first came across this information, kind of like made me question a lot too. Why do you think that is? Why don't we have a real photograph of the Earth from space?
Why? It's because
I mean, you can see here that they're completely different shades, different sizes of North America, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just they're cartoons. In other words, everything that we're shown from outer space and about outer space is all cartoons, CGI. In other words,
okay.
yeah,
I don't know that.
yeah. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. Let me ask you this: if I showed you a picture or a video of me flying, would you believe I could fly? If I just showed you a video,
I don't believe.
why wouldn't you believe me?
I think that's AI.
Yeah, it will 100% have to be AI. That's the logical conclusion. Why? Because human beings flying defies physics.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you show me anything that defies physics on a video, I automatically know it's fake.
Yeah.
So like if you show me walking through walls, you know, like a video of, and we know it's fake, that defies physics. So the ball Earth claim defies physics. Because again, the force of the Earth is a push. That would mean the Earth will have to be growing in order for it to be a globe. Here's another, this is the number one proof, again, the fact that gravity is a push. The number two proof is, do you guys know the radius of the Earth that they tell us? Like the radius? The radius of the Earth. That's the distance from the center to the outer circumference.
Yeah.
Do you know the radius?
Oh, we don't know the exact.
Yeah, so they do
number.
tell us the radius, look.
Yeah.
So the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles,
Okay.
which is the distance from the center to the outer circumference,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So the diameter will just be the radius times 2. That will be completely across.
Yeah.
But when they give us the radius, using a simple calculation like the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared,
Yeah.
we can physically measure for how much curvature there should be if the Earth was a ball. So based on the radius that they're giving us, there should be 8 inches per mile squared that should be measurable here on Earth. So in the first mile, there should be 8 inches of curvature. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So how do we measure for that curvature, right? So there's this very simple way to measure for that. So again, if we went to a giant lake that was miles across, like a giant lake, and once the water's at rest, if we physically measure the surface of water, it's going to show us that it's going to be a horizontal surface, a level surface. Because water, when contained and at rest, always forms a level surface. That's what water level means.
Yeah.
But they're trying to tell us that water level means curve. In other words, that there's going to be curvature of 6 feet in 3 miles. But if nobody's ever observed or measured a lake like this, the surface of a lake will always be a horizontal plane, a level plane. regardless of distance. So again, a physical measurement of the Earth has never been done because it would debunk the curvature of the Earth. So this will be the number 2 proof, is that water, when containing at rest, always forms a level surface like this. So that's why the oceans are considered, have you heard of the term sea level? Sea level? Like
Sea level.
sea level. Have you heard of sea level? Like how we
Oh,
measure height and depth from sea level? Yeah. Again, the oceans, sea level just means horizontal oceans, pretty much. That's another word of saying it. That's what sea level means. So this will be the number 2 proof to debunk the globe. Again, water, the physics of water. So besides images, because obviously images, you know, could be fake nowadays, especially videos too. Besides images and video, is there anything else that convinces you or makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
I think some people like travel start from the specific site and then it can go
Circumnavigation is what you're saying? Circumnavigation?
back.
Yeah. So circumnavigation can happen on a level surface as well. For example, if this was our center point, for example, this tower, and let's say it was the magnetic north, right? If we simply went east, which we would just simply make a circle around the center point.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because a center point will be north, but if we went east, we'll just do a circle around it, and we'll come back to the same spot. So a circumnavigation will work on a level Earth and a globe Earth. So that doesn't prove either or.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
so yeah. So is there anything else besides that? Because that's inconclusive to prove for either or. So here's another thing. I know you guys are familiar with GoPro cameras.
Yeah.
GoPro? Yeah, the fisheye lens.
Yeah.
You guys are familiar with the fisheye lens? It warps the image in front of you. So a lot of people that skydive, for example, or go on an airplane, for example, and they use an action camera like a GoPro, you're gonna get an image like this.
Oh,
and people think they're seeing the curvature of the Earth, but the reality is it's just the lens that makes this happen. If you use a standard lens like on your phone, the horizon is always gonna be horizontal. Because in my opinion, that's where the word horizon comes from horizontal. So again, so the only place you're ever going to see curvature of the Earth is through GoPro cameras like this or through CGI images like this. Again, curvature of the Earth doesn't exist, and nobody has ever measured it or even seen it with the naked eye, you know. Again, a lot of people think they see it, you know, but in reality, if we did see it, then we should be able to physically measure it like this. But we can't, you know. So again, this is, in my opinion, this is the number 1 lie on Earth. It's what the Earth actually is, you know, as a whole. At the end of the day, I don't know what the Earth is as a whole. All I know is that it's a level plane that's pushing up against you, and it's a contained system as well. So we're like inside a terrarium, in other words. That's what the Earth is.
So how to explain the sun, like,
yeah.
right?
So the sun and the moon, nobody have ever been to these places. I know the moon landing was a thing in the 70s, but all of that was just done in a studio. But nobody knows what they actually are. And in my opinion, when it comes to the shape of the Earth, what the ground is doing, looking up at the stars, is a red herring. In other words, it's a false argument. So if we want to prove whether the Earth is curving or not, looking at the sun or looking at the moon tells us nothing about the ground. So again, it's an irrelevant point. Nobody knows what they are. That's the reality. You know, in my opinion, the sun and the moon are just part of this creation. Because the Earth, in my opinion, is a creation. I don't know what the creator is. I know there's a lot of religions out there that try to tell you what that is. The reality is nobody knows. But the fact is that it is created somehow. Because even the first law of thermodynamics says that, and we can, obviously everyone can understand this, nothing, something cannot come from nothing. So we're experiencing something here. It didn't come from nothing. But the heliocentric model tries to tell us that the Big Bang came from nothing. That defies physics. So again, this points to the direction that this place is a creation, you know, of some sort. But nobody knows what that actually is. You know, only religions are going to try to tell you what it is. But they're just, in my opinion, religions are just there to try to control people. You know, try to stump people mentally, you know. And believe it or not, the heliocentric model, the ball Earth belief, and that's the biggest religion on Earth, because majority of people believe that. But it's just based on faith. It's not based on physics or any real science, in other words. again, real science shows that the ball Earth is physically impossible. Again, water and the fact that the force of the Earth is a... Do you guys have any questions for me about this subject? You guys heard of this subject before, right?
No.
Have you guys heard of flat Earth?
Yeah, long time ago.
A long time
There
ago.
are two arguments. Like some people think it's flat, some people think
The
it's
fact is, both the globe Earth and flat Earth are both wrong. So the debate that's going on online. So here's the thing: the Earth is a level plane. The difference between the difference.
What does that mean?
Yes, the difference between level and flat is that over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny the fact that the Earth exerts a force. So motionless flat Earth and globe Earth are no different because they both believe that objects accelerate down in free fall. But the reality is, when you release an object into free fall, it's the Earth that comes up to meet it. So that's what's happening. It looks like this goes down because we're also moving up with the Earth. So it's the Earth that comes up to meet a falling object. So objects don't fall down. It's the Earth that catches up. So again, all flat earthers, all mainstream flat earthers believe the Earth or claim the Earth is motionless, which is bullshit too. It's not true. So people like myself that expose both of those models are completely censored online, like super censored. I've been in this subject for almost 10 years now. I came across this when I was 24. I'm 33 now. And I'm telling you, this is by far the biggest subject and the most censored subject right now. The fact that gravity is not a pull, is a push. Because even flat earthers are claiming that too as well. They're defending the globe Earth without even knowing. So it's just falling into another concept that defies physics. You know? So again, the Earth's force is a push. Pulling forces actually don't exist. Everything that has motion requires a push. A combustion engine, boats, everything, airplanes, helicopters, everything that moves requires something else to push it to move. That's the only way. Forces are only push, not pull. I know in our classes they teach us that force is a pull or a push, but the pull aspect of a force, it doesn't exist. It's all push. It's all pressure. You know, the reason that air has air pressure is because it's being pushed, not because it's being pulled. You know, that's the reality. Yeah. So you guys have any questions before you guys go about this subject?
Yeah, it's interesting.
No, very interesting. Trust me, like my world got turned, people would say upside down, but in this sense it got turned right side up. Because now everything makes sense to me. You know, a lot of, you know, I would, as a child, I would question my reality a lot. Like, what is this place? What are we as humans, right? And that whole mentality was just stumped because I believed that in evolution and the stories that they told us, the fact is nobody knows what we actually are. That's the reality. And I think that's a much healthier place to be than just believing something, because then that's just a religion, you know. And I like to stay scientific. I like to stay, you know, objective. Whatever reality shows me, that's what I go with. I don't have beliefs, you know, because that's for religions, you know, and I'm not religious, so yeah, you know, that's just the way I see it, you know. So here, you guys can take my information. This is my channel, and I go to other universities as well. And inside are the 6 top proofs that debunk the globe Earth, on top of the fact that the Earth's force is a push, not a pull. So you guys can check that out when you free time. And yeah, I do these kinds of conversations all the time at different universities. All right, appreciate the chat, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Nice
take
to
care.
meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for the chat. All right. Yeah, no problem. Take care. There was a little bit of a language barrier there, but they understood everything I was saying. You know, it wasn't that. It was pretty good. It was good, but there was a little bit of a language barrier. I'm sure they didn't express themselves as well as they would like to, as well, obviously because of that language barrier. But I feel like the main points were made. You know, so yeah, I'll say that was a win. No, yeah, they found it interesting. That's the best reaction. No, yeah, exactly. When people are honest with themselves, again, at the end of the day, are the best reactions. You know, genuine, honest reactions. You know. I'm not gonna lie. Like when people get riled up and shit, like it's pretty entertaining at that point. Like it's still entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. Like when people get worked up and shit and like get all mad. it's still very entertaining, you know. But again, like I was saying earlier, like you don't know what they're capable of, right? Like you don't know how far they're willing to take that anger, right? Are they gonna get physical, you know, and stuff like that? Like, you know, obviously you don't want that. You know, if you're out there talking to people, I wouldn't want that, you know. But yeah, I mean, it is entertaining at the end of the day, you know. But yeah, it is what it is. I think my battery's gonna die over here. 7%. Oof. Well, at least it's good to see that some students are out here still, you know, and I was able to have a few conversations. But yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna change my battery because it's gonna die like I would say 5-10 minutes, but I do want to stay like another maybe 20 minutes since I have I already paid for the parking. Another 15 minutes. So I'm gonna change the battery. And then we'll wait another 15 minutes or so. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit, battery. Definitely what's in here. I was like, where the fuck are my batteries? Yeah, just in case we get another conversation. That way I don't miss any of it. Alright. Battery. Alright, we'll wait another 15 minutes. See if we could get one more and then we'll go ahead and call it. Imran, good to see you. Appreciate the support. And the sky is moving away from you. I mean, what is the sky? Like, I don't know, like you're gonna, like, are we gonna say the sky is whatever, like the blue that we see in this, like above, like, but what is that? So, you know, you could say, oh, the sky is the blue sky, right? The blue, but what is that? What is that blue hue that we see above us? Like, what is that? Like, are we talking about, is the sky the ceiling? Is the sky air above? Like, what is the sky? Like, literally, right? Is it just the air above us? Is that sky? Like, or again, is it whatever blue that we're seeing? But what is that blue? Whatever the hell that is. Like, what is causing that blue sky? Like, what is that? Right? So what is the sky, in other words? Like, I don't know. The closest thing to the sky would be the ceiling, if there is a container, you know, of the earth, or containment of the earth. You know, that would be the sky, right? Or I don't know. Drek Hantosh, respect to the bro for doing this out there, boots on the ground, being on the internet and trying to get these points across to people is a brick wall attempt. Yeah, exactly. I was saying that earlier too. That, yeah, coming out and speaking to real people is like the only way forward with this subject, because again, speaking to people online is pretty pointless. It's not gonna go nowhere. You know, even your channel, you know, if you're like me, your channel's not gonna get recommended. It's gonna be completely out of the algorithms. You know, you're not gonna be able to reach new people online, and especially with all the trolls online as well. Like, yeah, it's just not gonna go nowhere online, you know. So yeah, it's literally coming out and speaking to people, the only way forward. So yeah, anyone that wants to push this forward, again, that's the only way that I see right now moving forward. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly how I'm doing it. You know, you could find a different way of doing it. Like if you're a musician, for example, like, you know, you could write songs about it. Like, you know, I don't know, like I see musicians play in public all the time. You know, maybe you can get through to someone through music, right? There's different ways. You know, you can have interviews, like straight up interviews with a mic, you know, and just ask people for their reasoning to why they believe certain things, right, about the earth. You know, have like a little interview style way of doing it. You can, you know, there's different ways. You know, it doesn't have to be this way, you know, the way I'm doing it. You know, this is just one way I feel comfortable doing this. You know, I don't push it on people. People come to me, you know, and I don't just bombard them with the information either. I kind of walk them through the steps to how I came to this realization, right, before I bring up the subject. So again, this works for me. Others can do this as well. You can. That's why I do this, is to set an example as well. And again, anyone, don't be shy, you know, to do it the same way I'm doing it. If you feel like that's one way that is going to work for you, then just do it. You know, don't just wait around, don't think about it, just do it. If you're confident in what you know and what you understand, then the next step is just to take action, right? And again, doing it the way I'm doing it works. So again, if you could implement it and maybe do it your own way, then that's great. That's great. You know, I've seen a lot of people do tables of discussion all the time. You know, I see them online on YouTube. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen different discussion tables about different subjects. You know, I basically took that idea and kind of made it my own, you know. And it's, again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with sharing ideas, sharing different methods of doing things, you know, and different approaches, you know. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If it works and you're able to utilize it, then go for it, you know. So yeah, my best advice, if you're in the position I'm in, where you realize this, you understand it, you're able to explain it, is just, the next step is just take action, you know, and just try to reach others, you know. But because definitely one person out here is not gonna make a big change. You know, I'm not gonna say he's not gonna change anything or anyone, you know, but if you want to see like a mass change, I guess you could say, then it's gonna take a group effort. It's gonna take more people to get involved. You know, way more people to get involved, and yeah, comes again. The responsibility is on us at the end of the day. We can either just go along to get along, or we could take action. You know, so again, it's up to every single one of us at the end of the day. Oh, what time is it? 1:05. A good deal of self-awareness is required with activism. Yeah, you could say that. And again, self-aware, in my opinion, comes with being honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, then you're not being self-aware. You know, you're buying into ideas at that point. And if you're buying into ideas, then you're not self-aware. You know, again, it comes down to being honest with yourself, and that's how you become self-aware. You know, and again, don't have a bias, don't have beliefs, just be you. You know, and yeah, that'll be a good place to start for sure if you want to do activism. And again, if you're wrong about something, if I'm wrong about it, that's cool, it's fine. I don't care. Like, I don't care about being wrong. I'm not scared to be wrong. You know, like, if I'm wrong about something and someone can correct me, then I'll be man enough to admit it. Like, yeah, okay. You know. Yeah, you know, and I would only grow from that, you know. But if you're not willing to admit that you were wrong, then how can you ever grow? You know, it's pretty crazy to think that you can grow mentally and grow as a human when you're just so close-minded and just stuck in your beliefs. Especially when people are showing you how ridiculous they are, and how, you know, it's just crazy. That is literally crazy, you know. But it is what it is. Alrighty. Alright, I'm gonna start putting some of this away. Alrighty. Alrighty, so that's gonna be it for this one. Again, thanks for everyone that shows up, everyone that watches my videos, everyone that shares them. You know, I appreciate the support, and yeah, see you guys on the next one. Peace.